Yes, welcome back. I'm here with the master psychologist, Jenny Williams. We're at the Arca Bar, at the Sporty Bar. I want to see if we can work with a bit of noise around you.
Well, it's because your photos are everywhere, Phil.
I think that's
I know that.
exactly why I chose this place. Probably not. Now, we've been previously talking about parents offering good advice, and we're talking about getting the elite athlete to perform the best they can and to become an elite athlete. We talked about parents' influence.
Yep.
Now, what about when you get a coach and you think the coach is not quite right and they do what you've suggested? I seek an expert out that's done 10,000 hours of coaching and been successful. Now I go and speak to that coach and they reinforce what I think, which is against what my coach is telling me. How does the athlete handle that?
Well, it's pretty interesting. It probably depends a lot on their age.
Let's say 15, 16-year-old.
15 and 16-year-old. Well, number one, sometimes it also depends on the parents, how much they're willing to support their child, because if it's making, let's think about the size of the star. The way the star gets bigger is to work on all that mastery, to have good feedback, to actually make sure you're doing good practices. Now, if you're not doing that, or you're continually being told how bad you are, or you're not doing things well, imagine what starts happening to the star. It gets smaller, starts not to perform, and all of a sudden at 17 and 18, or even at 19, when they start getting to open age, it looks like they've disappeared. And I have to start saying to people, start evaluating every aspect of who's putting in knowledge to you. So be it a coach, be it an exercise sports science person, be it a dietitian. If you want to be the best, don't find average, start to find the best people. And who are the best people? The ones who have got feedback on themselves and continue learning. If you're coaching the same as you were 30 years ago, you're probably not going to be a great coach anymore. And I don't care how old coaches are. I think that's one of the problems in our society. We have a lot of people 50 plus who are brilliant coaches who everyone goes, oh, they're old now. Older people who keep learning actually are absolute wisdom, fountains of youth. Get people out there and give them good skill stuff to do. They'll actually fast track people, so don't ignore them, find them.
All right, so your point's pretty valid. I mean, as coaches, we evolve, we continue to learn. If we want to stay on top of the subject, we go and speak to people that we get to know over the journey, gather ideas and continue to do that through our life, because not just coaching, but for our life experiences. Now I'm a young kid and I'm given a piece of information that I believe is right, that is right. Coach says no, so then I go and seek another opinion and get the same opinion. Can I continue to play? We hear coaches say, don't get anyone else's opinion except mine. Good advice or bad advice?
Well, I'd say there's bad advice, even as if I'm working with an athlete and they're not doing better or they don't see improvement, I'd say go and find someone else. Because it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a doctor, an athlete, even a coach. Our job is to actually make people better. And if we're not doing it, maybe it's something to do with us as much as it is the other person. So if they're working hard, now I love this bit that they're not working hard enough. Well, if you're challenging them, giving good new drills, if I do the same thing, I have seen elite level coaches, even at NBL level or things like that, do exactly the same training for exactly the same group for all year. Now, number one, it's not going to make people better because they're not being challenged, they're not trying things, and they stop doing things to excellent level and they do everything to ordinary, every practice. And if you want to be the best, find the best people. And if your coach isn't good enough, I'm one of those people that says, like anything else, find someone better.
All right, now, game day, some of us are creatures of habit, routine. What about game strategy for a star? Should they have a routine that makes them comfortable?
Well, we'll talk about that later on because that, again, is very individual with people. But if you're playing a team sport, at some point I'd like teams to talk about that because it seems to me if you've got a change room of everyone else all the time with earphones in and it's only about, what I want to do, how are you going to do well as a group? And we're going to talk about flow later on. And that is probably the biggest concept that people don't know what it is and don't know how to get into it. So if they're not listening for that episode, they better find us so they know what it is.
All right. 3 key ingredients as an athlete. We've said seek information. This is a big one. And sift through what's right and wrong for you and for the group that you're playing with to become a better player. We've said care is vitally important in the earlier episodes. What else?
Feedback. Feedback again, all the time. If you want to get better...
Does it depend who you get your feedback from?
Yeah, of course it does.
So
again,
let's talk
from
about,
an expert.
So I'm sitting in the car, driving home, mum or dad, and we all various parents, and I'm sure our intentions are all the same, to try and help our kid be the best they can be. Depending on where it's at is, am I giving positive advice, negative advice, wrong advice? Where should the parents sit in the drive home with their athlete on what they should say?
Here's the funny thing is sometimes one or two things, but then stop talking, because you know, if you've gone out, even as a kid, and you've played really well, and you've had at some point, you just want to have, let's go and just sing on the way home. And I noticed it was funny, Dangerfield talking the other day when he won, that he and his girlfriend, they absolutely do karaoke on the way to the footy. Now, this whole thing
And he doesn't sing all that well, I might add.
Well, who cares?
He does a lot of other things really well.
Yes.
Mate. Yes.
And in the long run, that's the whole thing, is there's got to be, I haven't mentioned that, joy.
Yep.
If there is no joy in performance and in what you're doing and how much you love it, you never get to be as good as you can. So we need to actually understand as a parent, you've got to make sure the kid wants to be out there all the time. One of the best ways of doing that sometimes is saying, really well done. And if they didn't do so well, it's not your job to tell them unless you're the absolute expert. So maybe if Leighton Hewitt was telling about tennis to his kids, he'd have a thing. But sometimes even they have to let off and go, until they're 15, 16, they're experiments. They're little young people growing up. They're not people who we need to be hard on to toughen up.
Okay, I talk to lots of parents and they'll all say, my kid doesn't listen to me. So should the advice then be what you said is, then don't talk about it.
Yep.
Just make it a great experience on the way to the game and a great experience on the way home. Could be about anything else. Stop trying to coach them, because either they're not listening and you're getting frustrated, which makes you angry, which adds to tension on the way there or the way after, or you don't have the knowledge and it's the wrong advice anyway. So if you had to err on one side, probably the right way to err is say nothing.
Absolutely, and join in the, that was really good, we enjoyed that, especially when they're younger, because the other thing is, instead of telling the kid, spend that time going and finding out whether what you're saying is right, go to a few courses, go and listen to people and get some good advice yourself. And I have great parents who the best thing they do is sit on the couch, start to learn about all of this mastery and luck, and actually start to take the foot off the kid and allow them to just progress because they love it.
Are some people trying to live their sporting career through their kids? Is that so dangerous?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's because they love them lots too,
Yes.
and they want to see them, and when they're young, they're big and strong and they're put into that. But the answer is, it is not you. At no stage is your child's life or how they think exactly like you do. So all we want to do is learn to actually give them support, help them, and find the best information so that they're still playing when they're 30, whether they're a champion or just a great kid.
Right, if we talk about, we've talked about what it takes individually to become the star.
Yep.
If you had to sum up the things around you to make you become a star, what would be the key things?
Well, then there's finding the best experts, getting the parents to be part of the process, not the process, finding, as I said, great coaches, understanding what feedback is and whether people don't need 1,000% all the time. Sometimes 3 things, did these things really well. And notice what I do, touch. When you actually want people to listen, don't give them too much information, and actually good eye contact, come on, out we go. So before a game, I have coaches giving way too much to people and they don't even remember it. So again, that's all part of it, finding good friends.
Yeah.
When you have a bad day, here's the other thing, go and do something nice for someone else.
Yes.
Because if you're wallowing in self-pity, you don't get better. So go and help someone who's less fortunate than you.
All right, there's some great tips. Stay with us. Still some episodes to come on. Be the best you possibly can. Stay with us.